All right, so we just recently played through Halo Infinite.
Yeah, you definitely beat me in speed and getting it done. I will say that.
I have I have a lot more free time than you, unfortunately. But
To just grind.
yeah, let's give our impressions of.
Well, before we get into Infinite, do we just want to talk about how about we talk about how we were exposed to Halo, a little bit about our gaming, our experience with it in general.
Yeah, because really, we're both fairly new to the Halo series. Like,
100%, 100%.
I played the Combat Evolved remastered in high school, and I think I played some Halo 3 multiplayer at a friend's house, and that was about
Mhm.
it until this year when I bought the
I,
Master Chief Collection and played
I
through all the
played.
games on there.
I remember playing Halo Combat Evolved at a game. No, EB Games. That's how long ago.
Cool.
I'm
Yeah, they're
pretty sure it was
gone.
EB. Yeah, it was EB Games or GameStop, one of the two. I think it was EB Games though. And I remember like the Xbox was set up and I played it. And that was like that and like a couple times that I was at a friend's place. Those were the only times that I remember playing Halo. So other than that, like I'm indoctrinated. Like Halo Infinite, like I've seen the storyline up to this point, but this is the first like one of me playing through it.
Yeah, and I played through all the games on with the MCC before this to lead up to this. Although MCC doesn't have Halo 5, which I don't know if I dodged a bullet on that one or not.
I mean, I think lore wise, you're missing out on a few things.
It,
I
it
think,
yeah, there's definitely a few things I'm confused about story-wise because I didn't get that game.
yeah, like I'm still confused on who this Cortana person is. Still trying to figure that out. But let's dive into this. You want to dive into the gameplay?
Yeah, so this is their first one being an open world game, which from what I understand, they wanted that in the beginning. Like the first Halo, they wanted that to be open world, but of course limitations
I had been under
of
the
time.
impression, I'd been under the impression they actually wanted it to be an RTS, which in a way is kind of an open world if you think about it. I mean, not like open world, but it is a larger map and dealing with stuff. But I'm glad that I think that they made a bold decision and decided to do the open world. It might be kind of the thing that everybody's doing right now, but like that's never been Halo. That's always been everybody else's thing to tackle.
And you heard me when I was playing through it. I was really afraid of it becoming Far Cry, and it definitely hits those Far Cry notes of the charismatic villain of Eshram. Is that his name?
Eshram, yeah.
Yeah, Eshram.
His name's Eshram.
He's no, I don't remember. He's not him though.
Voss.
That's for sure.
Voss. Yeah, Voss.
Yeah, he's no Voss, but he's still memorable. Which kind of leads into how he's written pretty well, especially since you don't really see much brutes in the Halo series. Like there's no.
It was I think I thought Atriox. So I went into this thinking Atriox was gonna be the final boss. We're just like the big bad.
Yeah.
So I was completely flabbergasted when in the first like 30 seconds of the game, it's like, yo, this is bro Eshram. He's gonna fuck your shit up, dog.
Yeah, and Atriox is dead. Like, what?
What?
When they introduce Atriox in the very beginning.
my man's
But
is dead, bro.
We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they decided in open world, there is the base, liberate the bases, unlocks territories, go around finding collectibles. No crafting, which I am thankful for. Although you have unlimited military supplies because of that. Just fabricate guns and vehicles as you will, which is cool.
It's nice. It's nice.
Especially since you go through ammo so fast, you just throw the gun away and pick up whatever's on the ground anyways.
Oh my god, dude. You go through ammo way too quickly. They added this new thing. Well, I don't know if it's new. I would say it's new. Where there's like little ammo caches of the different ammo types sitting around, but there's no reliable way. Like it gives you a magazine's worth of ammo from it. I thought it would fill your inventory. So I was chasing them down, and then I finally looked at it and was like, oh, I'm only getting a mag out of this? This is terrible.
Yeah, I did not. When I first saw those and found out that's what they did, that kind of turned me away a bit. I didn't really care for that. Didn't really feel Halo to me. And it felt a bit too easy, like hand-holdy. So my playthrough, I didn't even use them. If I
I
saw them, I actively ignored them.
actively ran the other way.
I grabbed the guns that were next to them. And that way I was kind of forced to use the weapons, because things are nice only because it allows you to keep using the same weapon. Like, if you're good with this weapon, you can keep using it. Because, like, precision weapons are really good in this game. The pistol, oh my god, the sidekick.
Dude, that sidekick is, as a multiplayer, it is a beast.
Yeah, I will say it's a bit harder on higher difficulties, because we played through normal to begin with, and I started a hardcore between
I don't know.
legendary.
You're brave. I'm a normal. I'm a casual. Like, that was good.
Yeah, so hardcore, it takes a bit more to take guys out, but 3 to 4 headshots and brutes down, usually unshielded ones, anyways.
And that's still pretty, yeah, unshielded. And that's still pretty good. Like, with 3 or 4 headshots with that little pistol. I mean, that's just, oh, he's dead.
And even on hardcore, grunts take a couple shots from it instead of just going down immediately. But yeah, so, that part I didn't really care for the ammo caches too much.
So why don't we dive in a little bit about, you know, on that open world, some of the mechanics of it. So there's all the loot box. I don't want to say loot boxes. Yeah, we'll call them loot boxes. There's the loot boxes.
You mentioned Mjolnir lockers.
Mjolnir armor lockers. That's right. There's the Spartan cores, which, since they didn't do a crafting system, of course they had to give us a skills system. Leveling tree. Yeah, an upgrading tree, which it's the same skills you find in the multiplayer portion of the game.
Minus one. One of them is not in there, which was surprising. The repulsor.
Oh, dude, I didn't even realize that. That would have been so useful. That's probably why it wasn't in there.
The repulsor and the overshield is in there. Invisibility is in there, but it's hidden.
That's funny. So you still got the grapple shot, the drop shield, the quick dodgy one, and then the scanner. Those are still pretty cool. The grapple shot definitely becomes your best friend as you're playing through.
It is. While they did increase mobility in this game, you definitely can tell it's a lot more faster paced than past Halos. That's for sure. Although I never played. Played 5, and I played 4, and you have sprinting in 4 right off the bat. It does not compare to flinging yourself around Apex Pathfinder style across the map.
Yeah, no, it's without it you would be like just crying because the map just feels impossibly huge.
I was playing Spider-Man mostly.
Yeah,
I almost exclusively used the grapple shot, except for a few times, especially in one boss fight where I had to use this enemy scanner.
Yeah, I think I used the scanner like in 2 boss matches, and that was only because one of them I just wanted to keep seeing where the boss was when I was moving around. But there's also mini bosses. Like there's the
they have various high level or high ranking targets around the map that you go around and fight. They're all different enemy types.
And each one unlocks you a different weapon to get. What do you think of that?
That was okay. As soon as you unlock the vehicles, like the higher end vehicles, they became cakewalks. Because you get the Scorpion really early if you get enough Valor. You get Valor for completing things around the map, freeing UNSC Marines or posts, or what do they call them? FOBs.
So the main types are unlocking FOBs. There's high value targets, blowing up
the propaganda towers.
The propaganda towers. We already went over the high value targets, but man, dude, I unlocked the Razorback, and because as you go through this progress of the Valor, you unlock the Marines to ride with you and to help you on missions that you take them on. So I just get a Razorback, get all of them loaded in the back, and just boom into an HVT.
You definitely took the Marines around a lot more than I did. I actively have avoided them just because their AI is not great.
So you and I had very different experiences with this. So what was you said that your experience was not great, but what was going wrong for you?
Well, they were very accident prone for one, and
As Marines are.
yeah, uh, a lot of times you go and order a vehicle and they get airdropped into you, so your Marines are obviously standing right underneath it as it's dropping, and you just watch them go splat.
I only had that happen one time. The biggest problem that I usually had with them is their whatever the system was that told the AI to, hey, go help Master Chief, was really awkward. So that way, sometimes I would be I'd be in the Razorback and be like, hey, come on, honk the horn, hoping
Mhm.
they would come. And one dude literally ran around the Razorback twice and then ran off and ran away. And I was like, wait, what's going on here? And that was the worst. And then I just chased him down. I bumped him with the Razorback, and then he finally hopped in. Which
Like
I thought was funny.
I took a few that, and they kept spawning the ones with the rocket launchers. At this point, the rocket launcher has a very slow rate of fire, and the Marines don't understand the concept of cover.
What's
So,
cover?
yeah. Well, they also don't understand cover in both ways, where they would blow themselves up, or just stand out in the open and just get shot down because they're paper
Yeah,
against those guys. Brutes just tear them up.
Brutes are just a little just a little overpowered in the game. It felt like.
Well, they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be really strong. They're strong in the lore, and we see them with other stuff where they do those types of things.
Yeah.
I've my butthole puckered a few times as you see those charging ones
Oh,
come running at you.
PTSD, PTSD, triggered. Especially when they come in those fucking the banished drop pods.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
dude, so many deaths that I had were caused because of that.
Which is funny because playing back through the beginning again, that's the first brute you're introduced to. Is that one? And that was a cakewalk because you just 2 pistol shots and it's dead.
Yeah,
But
headshots.
but then you get introduced and drop pods drop and 3 of them pop out. You're like, oh crap, and you're ziplining away. Which the zipline, I feel like it gets overpowered way too quickly, especially since the 40% cooldown reduction is the second one. That seemed like a bit much
Yeah.
that early on, to where you could basically just do it over and over again. So we're talking about the AI. The enemy AI was hit or miss for me.
You could tell that you could tell the development team definitely invested more time in certain ones over others.
They definitely do. They understand cover. They'll get out of the way. If, like, you're aiming down the sights or throw a grenade, they'll get out of the way of it. So grenades are a bit tricky sometimes, and sniping if they know you're there. In the open world, it feels like some of them are tethered, especially the high value targets. Like, there's
Yeah,
only
they're
a certain range that they can go. So if you bring them to that range, you can just shoot them right outside of it if they don't have any shooting weapons.
Or even if you're far enough back, I mean, like at that point, like you're using the sniper and like being a Billy Bob badass, but you get to a point where it's just you're so far out of their range that everyone's like, oh, he died. Oh no! But no one's targeted to you. But then it's like if you're not crouched, you get within a certain range. They're like, he's right there. It's like, whoa, no, you should not know I'm here yet.
Yeah, there's not very much stealth in the game, that's for sure. Although the Halo games have never really been about stealth. Even the one that was supposed to be about stealth wasn't about stealth.
No. Your name is Master Chief. Our name is Master Chief. We are not stealth. We are destruction.
It's one of the few games in a long time where it's dropped and it feels like a complete game.
Yes, I like playing through the campaign. I actually felt that it was a complete game. There was no glaring issues, no glaring bugs.
I don't know about the campaign story being complete. We'll get to that in a bit.
But I did want to touch on the fact that when you go to the Mjolnir lockers, that you get stuff for multiplayer. And I had said that I hope that there is something that you can only get from the camp. If I spent the money on the campaign, I want to be able to get something out of it so that way I can flex on people in multiplayer.
Yeah, and they definitely did that. It wasn't as much as I had hoped, and a lot of stuff is like, that's cool. I'm never gonna use that, like the name tag stickers and the name tag stuff and the just icons.
Some of the weapon colors, but you did already unlock one of the guaranteed the coolest skin for the Mark 7 armor.
Yeah,
Um,
the scarlet something or other. It's like a metallic
Scarlet
red and
Shadow.
black. Yeah.
Yeah, and that
Yeah,
thing
that one
looks.
was really cool, and I've done some multiplayer games with it. They made it really dirty, which I don't know how I feel about that.
I kind of like that though, because like it shows that like your Spartan is actually working. You know, it's not just look at me in my pristine armor every time you play. I kind of like that.
Yeah, but on that metallic red, especially if you get the whole picture and you're out in the field looking at it, even though you don't really, you yourself personally don't really see it, and no one really notices your skin in multiplayer,
Yeah.
honestly. Weapon skins are pretty cool. You get one weapon skin per all the weapons, I think, except for a few. Like, I don't think there's the sniper rifle and the Hydra don't have one, I don't think.
Yeah. I don't think so.
But they're both the same. Same for the vehicles. It's like a red. It's the Banish colors.
I enjoyed the Banish stuff for that. I just personally, I'm a fan of red on color schemes.
Hmm.
And it looks pretty pulled together, and like in the multiplayer there's a lot of vehicles, so like it sets you apart from like the run-of-the-mill guys driving in. And I like to drive the Warthogs and the Razorbacks everywhere, like that's what I like to do, so it makes me feel cool, and that's what I care about.
Pose is really cool. Yeah, there's a lot of different armor skins in it. Like, I think there's a camo one or sort of
It's
camo
based,
one.
yeah, it's kind of a like that, like Marpat green kind of thing. Looks cool. So shall we move on to the story a little bit, or is there any other parts of the collectibles you wanted to touch on?
Oh, let's see. We talked about high priority targets, the Spartan cores, Mjolnir lockers. Oh, the skulls. Oh, the
We
skulls
found
and audio logs.
the audio logs. I think are a cool touch, but I have a short attention span. Gimme, gimme. I want to know everything. I don't want to have to find all the lore stuff. I want it. I like storytelling, not story finding.
Yeah, and unfortunately, some of them are in. So within the thing, you have the open world, and then you have individual missions that are just singular pathways, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there is a skull or an audio log on those missions, you are locked out after you complete that mission. So
And
in
it
order
sucks.
to play through them, or in order to get them, you have to start a whole new playthrough.
And it sucks because going into those areas, it kind of tells you, hey, this is in here, but it doesn't tell you you don't get to come back. So I mean, I know the skulls have traditionally always been something you really have to work for, but oh man, still rough.
So I'm with this newest playthrough, the hardcore playthrough. I'm taking my time and making sure I get all that stuff. Although I think I've encountered a glitch of where audio logs aren't unlocking, which kind of sucks because there's story in there for what's, and I'm really lost of like what's going on when you come into the story. Because if you don't pay attention, there's a lot that's happened between 5 in this game. A
There is
lot.
so much that's happened. Yes, and that's very traditional for Halo as well. That it like jumps enough time where you're like, wait, what's going on? I'm so confused.
Usually not as much as this one, because usually, so like so for let's start at the very beginning. Reach is technically the first one in the series.
Mm-hmm.
Master Chief is in Reach, but he's cryo frozen, right?
Right.
So from there we see where the first one starts at the end of Reach, with the Covenant boarding the Spring of Autumn and whatnot, and you
Yeah.
escape from there.
Reach ends right where Combat Evolved begins,
Yeah, and then we go into 2,
which is like a few months after Halo 1, I want to say. If that.
yeah, but nothing's really happens too much story-wise in between that points to where you're lost. 2 ends on a
Right.
fucking cliffhanger, and
As is tradition.
to where you don't even get a payoff. So what happened
Oh.
is they had to cut the ending of the game, because originally the series was only supposed to be the first 2 games. So at the end of 2, Master Chief says, I'm going to end this war. Big massive cliffhanger. He's on the ship, and then we get to 3, where he is falling from orbit onto Earth, and apparently it's been a few months, which is really confusing.
Yeah, time works weird when you're Master Chief.
Halo 3 ODS takes place during 2, which also doesn't make any sense.
I thought it took place during 3, but
Now
I
it
guess I'm
takes
wrong.
place during the when the Covenant arrive on Earth in 2.
Yeah, okay, so during the Mombasa
Yeah.
crowd. Okay, I thought that was for some reason I mixed that up. I thought that was during Halo 3. And then you go into Halo 4. So what's the gap between Halo 3 and Halo 4?
So at the end of Halo 3, Master Chief goes into cryogen and tells Cortana, "Wake me up when you need me." That's where Halo 4 starts. It's like 4 years
Okay.
after
So
that, I
that's a
think.
bit of a time. That's a bit of time.
But again, Master Chief is not doing anything in between that time. So you're just as lost. You know as much as Master Chief does going into it.
Oh, you're saying this is the first time Chief knows more than the player.
Chief does a lot in between 5 and Infinity. Yeah, Infinite, not Infinity, Infinite. Him and Blue Team do a whole thing on Reach between in this time period, which Blue Team is basically in the novels only. It's in 5 apparently, but not introduced at all from what I understand.
So you see a part of Halo 5 Guardians because that's its full title.
Mhm.
You see Blue Team and Blue Team. I hate to. I think there's a little bit of a spoiler, like small spoiler. Like you're chasing down Cortana. Like that's the whole point of that game. And then in turn, you are also being chased as Master Chief. You are also being chased down by the newest generation of Spartans who have been told bring Chief home.
Yeah.
So
So we have Cortana leading a rebellion in 5, and then we get to Infinity, and we can start talking about the story. Infinity starts with Master Chief fighting the Banished over the Zeta Ring, where Atriox beats the living hell out of him and throws him out into space.
I distinctly remember saying like, "Holy shit, how tough is that armor?" Like,
Yeah.
because he was getting thrown into fucking everything. Just to go on the record, Infinite takes place around 18 months after the end of Halo 5.
Yeah, there's a whole year of stuff because that fight we see at the very beginning, Master Chief is floating out into space for 6 months.
This man has spent so much time in space, it's not even. He's spent more time in space, like not in a ship, than he spent on most planets on Earth at this point.
Yeah, I don't know how 6 months out and floating out in space he survived that. That armor is something else.
Yeah, I guess it just put him into a little kind of almost like a cryostasis. Anyway, so yeah, you wake up and you get found by the pilot.
Yep, you get fined by Echo because I forgot his name.
Well, you don't get to learn his name. That's a spoiler. We can't say his name because it's a spoiler.
You get found by Echo, and Echo's like, "I want to go home," and Master Chief's like, "No, we're finishing this."
He's like,
Status report. Status report? What? There's something you need to see, Chief.
And Echo's like, "We lost, man."
I was like, bruh, what do you want? It's all over now.
Not
And then
why
Chief
we're
does-
still alive.
Yeah, right. And Chief's like, nah, bro, I'll be back. It's very interesting because this is the first time in a Halo game where you are partnered up with someone who's not a soldier, a scientist, someone
Echo's
who's
a
actively
civilian. But that's how the game starts. You go through the first mission and then get out, and then you start off on thing where you go to find the weapon, which at this point I guess we should go into spoiler territory, so we're not.
I think this is the point to go into I think this is the point to go to. I agree.
So if whoever's listening doesn't want spoilers, I'll put a time. You can skip to up here, and then you can skip past that if you don't want any spoilers.
All right, so spoilers time.
Yep, now that everyone's gone, hopefully we'll talk about the spoilers of the story.
Hopefully not everyone's gone. Hold on.
Well, everyone
Just
who
a few.
doesn't want to be spoiled, we can talk about let's just talk about the story.
Do we want to progressively talk about it, or are we just throwing this out there?
Let's go through as we know it, I guess.
So we find the weapon.
Story. Yeah, we find the weapon. It's Millennial Cortana.
God, is it Millennial Cortana or is it Gen Z Cortana?
I don't know.
I lean towards the Gen Z.
Gen Z Cortana?
Yeah, she's very uppity. She's real. I don't know.
Another AI that was used to combat Cortana, apparently, because Cortana's gone. Cortana is dead.
Cortana's dead. Bro, she couldn't split fracture anymore.
We find out how and why she died this time for sure later on, which I don't know if killing Cortana off screen is really the way to go
I
for such an
honestly was.
iconic character in the series.
It felt really. It felt like a sucker punch, honestly, because like I wanted to see the moment. Like I don't want to say I wanted to see Cortana die. Like Cortana is a very like she's very indicative of Halo. Like come on, but it would have been nice to actually see her death, because all we see is the moment right before it where Atriox is calling her out and is like, "You asked me, do I understand the consequences? So I asked you, do you know the consequences?" And then she's like, "I do. Thank you. Truly, thank you." And then I'm assuming she goes kablooey. What? We don't even know what she does.
Yeah, we don't even
like,
know what she does, but we know that
there's-
she's gone.
which is why the weapon is still around, is because she deleted before the weapon could cause the deletion.
Yeah, and the weapons protocol stated that when she deleted Cortana, that she was supposed to be deleted, so she was never deleted. I don't know, it's very convoluted, but bloated, it feels like.
Very mental gymnastics.
And they're setting all that up because there's the twist at the end, or I didn't see it as a twist. You saw it as a twist.
Are you talking about how she's a copy?
Yeah.
Oh, I was super salty by that. I guess I see it as a twist, but like all evidence had shown that there's retroactive spoilers, right? Hey, Halsey made 4 copies of her brain that she turned into AI and then has them waiting. She used the first one to make Cortana. So the natural progression was that the weapon would be the next one in the chain, right?
Mm-hmm.
But instead they fucking do this cheap, oh, she's a perfect copy of her data. They never said that they could do that. Up until this point, it has never been possible to copy an AI, or it's just never been done. So they don't even go into explanation of like how they copied her.
They don't really give an explanation in the main storylines. They don't really give an explanation of how AIs are made.
So AI, there's 2 types of AI. There's dumb AI and smart AI. The smart AI, typically they take dead brains and they scan those brains, which destroys the brain, and it creates essentially computers recreate that, and it gives life to a smart AI. That's why they have a shelf life of like 7 or 8 years. Dumb AI can last forever, but they're not capable of learning. They're not capable of changing the mission. So clearly, the weapon is not a dumb AI.
Yeah, it's clearly because Master Chief and her go at it about her breaking protocol in one mission, which leads to some hilarity later on when the weapon's mad at Master Chief, and we have to listen to that for a couple missions.
I just found it adorable. Like she was just being so.
And look, he brought friends. Did you hear me? He has friends.
I found it rather funny. She was very passive aggressive.
She had some quips. Master Chief has changed a lot. They added a lot more character to him rather than big green man go point and shoot.
You know, looking back at it, like thinking about it kind of now, he's almost bitter, like a bitter old man.
Yeah, he definitely has Clint Eastwood. He feels like a Clint Eastwood character to me.
A little bit, yeah. I can kind of rock with that. He kind of feels like a Clint Eastwood, any of that. Not Robert De Niro. I can't think of a perfect movie example, but just that whole archetype of like, it was my job to protect her, and I failed. It's almost like Batman, you know. I'm not the hero everyone wants.
Yeah, he blames himself. He blames himself a lot for Cortana a lot. He takes it on himself quite a bit.
It's really sad because like there's clearly there's so much emotion that like Chief has never had the space to open up. And this is one thing in the open world I wish they would have kind of had happen a little bit, is had Chief had more voice lines and do a little bit, because the only stuff we really get is in the actual storyline of Infinite. And while it's volumes more than what we've had, it's still very much in line with the whole, you know, I am Master Chief kind of thing.
Yeah, well, they don't want to stray away from that too much, and them humanizing Chief it's interesting to say the least. They definitely play into the soldier side of it a lot. You especially see that after the fight with Esherim.
Yeah, that was so. I thought that was really cool. Like, I thought that was whole like.
Yes. But at the end, he was just a soldier. Hoping he'd done the right thing.
Yeah.
You could, to be blunt, that was a lot of Chief projecting onto Esherim. That's probably exactly what was going on, but it very much had those like projecting and Chief like hoping everything he's done to this point has been right. Because Chief's mentality is everything is dangerous, nothing is good, kill it all.
Yeah, very much. Very much so. Because in the past games, Master Chief just doesn't say anything, and Cortana fills the space of letting the player know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of Cortana's role. Well, Master Chief is the muscle, Cortana's the brain.
Right, and now Cortana's gone. Somebody's got to pick up the slack.
So Chief has this naive AI with him running around.
It's so adorable how naive she is to me.
Let's talk about Esherim a bit. So Esherim, he if you haven't played the games, he was the one who trained Atriox, if I remember correctly.
He was Atriox's mentor.
During this thing, he sees Master Chief, and they don't say anything, but it kind of hints that Esherim's dying, like he has some sort of sickness, because you see him coughing a lot.
He presented like of having like that like pneumonia, like chronic pneumonia, like
Yeah, and Chief was his glorious way out. Like this was his last story. Either he was taken out by the Chief, or he took out the Master Chief.
Like on one hand, I get it. It's the Master Chief. What a great way to go out.
Yeah, the demon, the Covenant demon.
Which it was kind of funny because like even though Chief had such a reputation, every step of the way, Esherim was like, I need you to do more. I need you to become bigger than this. I need you. It's almost like he knows that we're not going to fail, but he's like, I need you to grow bigger. He wants
to leave a legend behind,
which I thought was real interesting because it's like, dude, you trained Atriox, like Atriox.
Yeah, but dude, he doesn't want to be in Atriox's shadow.
Yeah, I guess, and that's where it comes from, I guess.
Oh, I will say the Esherim fight, that was intense,
dude. That was. You beat the game before I did, and you were super quiet when you went through that boss battle. I could not stop cussing. I was so mad because I was fighting so hard. It is a very memorable fight. I will probably not forget that for a while. Really enjoyed it.
That fight and the boss fight before it with the Spartan killer. I don't remember his name, but he was an elite he had a bionic arm and red saber. But that fight was also intense. Also the only fight I used something that wasn't the grapple hook on.
Yeah,
I had to use the sensor on that one.
The sensor was a lifesaver there. It was a requirement.
Which when I got past that fight, I told you like, hey, make sure you level up that your sensor before you go into this.
So I went and leveled up my sensor, my armor. I had all three of those skills just ready to go because I didn't know what to expect, and I still was getting my ass handed to me.
Especially with how that fight opens with the recording from Echo's family just kind of playing just eerily. I'm like, oh crap. Especially for me, I was running around because I couldn't find the thing.
I miss you. You're going to see you again.
You hadn't even started the fight yet. You just keep hearing it.
Yeah, it just starts playing over and over again. I'm running around in that building. You're locked in there, so you can't leave. Those two fights, I will probably remember those for sure. The Harbinger, on the other hand, was lazy. That was a lazy fight.
That fight upset me, but not for the same reasons that you were upset.
Oh, why did it upset you?
It didn't feel like a boss fight. It felt like I was in the open world segment fighting a boss, fighting a mini boss, because it was just wave after wave of enemies and I'm already like mentally like I'm already so exhausted from the Spartan killer fight, from the Eshram fight, and then I roll right into this.
Yeah, which
Dude,
you have to
it's
fight a gauntlet of enemies to get to that point.
to get to it, and it sucks.
And
'cause,
there's no
like,
break in between any of that either.
no, and like there's like a walking break, but it's like I'm trying to like keep up with the story, and like if you walk too fast or you miss the window cues, so you miss Cortana and Atriox's interaction, which gives you a little bit of the story. And it was like I was latching on to each little segment and the whispers and all of that, and then you show up and you see the Harbinger, and it's like, oh, cool, I'm not even fighting you, I'm fighting, because you never fight the Harbinger.
You,
know what I
you
mean?
do. You knock out her
Wait.
shields and hit her a few times, and she goes back into the bubble, and more enemies pop up.
Yeah,
It was really lazy compared to the last two. I was really disappointed with that fight, especially with how they built her up.
yeah, they made her feel like, I really felt she was going to be this insurmountable person. Like,
I will say she was hard to hit at some points because
Oh,
she's
I
just
just was-
flashing all over the place, just pew, 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 all over
I was
the field.
I was in her face every time she like I was right in her face. I actually almost killed her with the gravity hammer.
I did.
That's how
I
close
finished her
was.
off. I finished her off with the grav hammer.
Nice. I think I actually finished her off with the sidekick. I don't remember.
Yeah, because that chieftain in that last thing was more of a boss fight than she was. That's for sure.
Yeah. And do we find out Echo's name before or after this?
After this,
See,
at the
that
very
was-
end.
And that was so like awkward. And then they're like, Esparza's full of hope, and I'm like, I get it, he's Master Chief, but it was like, guys, like, we spent there was no, like, I guess when like Eshram had Echo in the thing, and we're like kicking some ass, taking names to save him, and he sees that like it doesn't matter that you're not a soldier. I didn't come for you regardless if you're a soldier or not. I came because I don't want to say you're my friend, but like you've been with me through this, and I'm going to save you. I don't know, like that's how I felt about it. It's that like you I don't know, owed him maybe.
Yeah, I don't know what Chief's motivations are, especially since he's really hard on himself, but he says a lot of, I guess it would be considered hypocritical for a lot of things.
How do you mean?
He keeps blaming himself that he made mistakes and all this stuff, but then he tells him that making mistakes is what makes us human. Like, take your own advice, Chief. Although he does you do see that he does consider himself more machine than human at some points.
Yeah, because he does the whole, I guess it's just in my programming.
Yeah, so
Which
you
is
see
really
that sort of
really
stuff.
a kick in the knockers to me.
Yeah, especially because he flips back and forth on it. I don't know. It's weird seeing as much personality in Chief compared to the other games.
Did you dislike it, or was it just the fact that it was so out of left field from what we're used to for Chief?
It was fine. I didn't have a problem with it any.
Okay.
I don't think it could have been written stronger. Like, it could have been written better, I feel. The whole thing could have been written better. Yeah, some parts feel lacking. None of it felt bad. It just felt lacking. That kind of
Yes.
goes for the whole thing, really, especially with how it ends. Because they leave it open.
Are you talking about with the scene at the end?
Not even at that point yet. Just them going and, oh, let's go on to the next adventure type ending. And then, yeah, the post-credit scene, the little stinger, is we see Atriox doing something who we thought was dead, which are like, okay. Which
you
brings
alive?
me to the interesting thing I realized at the beginning. So, do you remember what Atriox tells Chief before he throws him off?
And I am the last face you will ever see.
So I'm wondering, because I don't know if this is true or not, but there's speculation that this is supposed to be the end of Chief. Like, they're supposed to retire
If you-
Chief here pretty soon.
If you knew how you were going to die, would you change it?
Yeah, there's a lot of things like that throughout the story. And that's sort of connected, but not really. Like, I feel like I'm the last face you'll ever see is a foreshadowing. Again, I don't know that for sure. I can see that playing out that way. We'll see with more content that comes out later on, because of course there will be DLC.
Did they confirm that? I saw an article get posted, but I didn't have a chance to read it, that about would there be DLC or not.
I don't know for sure. They definitely set it up for that though. We'll see what they do.
But when the game launched, Microsoft immediately trademarked the name Halo the Endless. It is not yet known if this will be a story expansion or a sequel. It'll be very interesting to see, because will we still be on the Zeta Ring? Will we go somewhere else? The sky is the limit. But I think we both can agree. It kind of feels like it is time for Chief to kind of get retired.
It's time for the mantle to get passed on, which may or may not kill the series. I don't know. As far as Infinite is concerned, it was pretty good. It's not a dumpster fire. It's also not the greatest thing in the world.
Not the greatest game ever written, but not a piece of garbage. Just kind of right in the middle. It's better than I expected. It didn't have as much as I wanted, but it was better than I was expecting to see. Okay, so it kind of feels that we've kind of touched on all the bases here. We went over the gameplay, we went over the story, kind of ranted a little bit in the spoilers, and that bled into the multiplayer. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I think we've kind of, I don't know, talked it to death, but we've talked about it quite a bit.
We talk about it quite a bit, and I think we've provided some constructive opinions on it, and we've done good about just laying it out there. I've really enjoyed my experience with it for the most part. It does get aggravating sometimes dealing with some of the events, but like the game itself, it's been fun to play, and especially when I get to play with my friends. Like, that's why I play games.
That's the best part of the game, is the people you play with them. But yeah, I guess we should wrap things up.
Well, guys, as always, I've been Eric.
I'm Sawyer. Make sure you like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below what you guys think of Halo Infinite. Curious how your guys' experience has been, if you've played it. If you haven't played it, let us know why. Maybe you hate Halo. Maybe you've
never heard of Halo before. All right, guys. Yeah. Well, we're signing off.
We'll check you guys later. Hope you guys enjoyed, and see you on the next one.